But what does it mean for leadership? And I think this is the key thing. For me, and there's plenty of evidence out there, but I think, I don't want to use phrases like a new brand of leadership. I just think that there's an enlightened approach to leadership that recognises the power of the customer experience as a tool. And I think, operationally, where I would suggest you went with it is that I love the tenant-led mystery shopping that you do. I think, it's fantastic to get tenants driving change like that, getting people on the trusts, people there, people being the voice of the customer. Absolutely fantastic. But I sometimes wonder whether it wouldn't be just as powerful to also elicit stories that actually say this is what happened. So you have a theme, could be repairs, yeah? You have a theme for 4 or 5 months, and during that theme you actually elicit stories from people. You know the best methodology for getting them, online, face-to-face, community meetings, what have you. But elicit those stories, and those stories can be very, very powerful. I know this seems like a weird shift towards the end of this presentation, but 80% of my time now I actually work in football. We run the Family Excellence Awards for the Football League, the Family Champion Scheme for the SPL, we work for the FAI, and for 2 or 3 individual clubs. Depending on how they're doing, we keep quiet about them. I can reveal I'm doing some work for Birmingham City because they didn't get relegated, but I've got to be much more quiet about the links with Liverpool. Sorry. But anyway, what we do with fans, new families, different types of fans groups, disabled fans, we've done all sorts of schemes. Is we get them to tell us their story of the match day or their story of the experience, and then we produce these huge laminated Nova Jets. They're sort of poster size, almost like snakes and ladder storyboards of what happened. And obviously, the customer will only make comments if they are significant, memorable, positive, negative, not the indifferent expected. We don't tell the boards or the executive of the clubs that we're working with the exception of the person who's contracted us, that we've done this, but we get called to a meeting. We sit in the meeting talking about improving the off-the-pitch revenues, fan engagement, and then at the point at which somebody says, maybe we should ask fans for feedback, I emit an evil laugh. Like that. Frightens people out, doesn't it, at a certain time in the afternoon? And then we just casually pin up these storyboards. Now that process we've learned, has a hugely galvanising effect on senior management teams. You can hear a pin drop as they walk around the walls inspecting each of their responsible areas and what this individual has said. Now it's not statistically representative, it's not a right sample size, it's because it's not research. It's simply a snapshot, it's simply a story. But in 3 years, the clubs and the new chairman have attributed a 12% rise in the number of families attending Football League fixtures, which is just under 2 million people, to the Family Excellence Awards, because it's the shock of actually seeing things through the customer's eyes. So that's one area where I think leadership can go. But I think the rest of it is about how you start to define service, customer experience, leadership for want of a better term. And I think a lot of it, if you take the football analogy, is about pitch side leadership. It's about being there. It's about fostering a spirit of customer focus by investing as much time and resources in non-statistically significant research, as well as the mystery shopping and the formal research you do. It's about recognition. It's about reward. It's about finding ways for the new recruits to actually take a lead in addressing those areas that culture has told us that we're less capable of dealing with. And I think I could go on, as you probably gathered all afternoon. I'm sure somebody would be praying desperately for me to stop because they're living in hope that there might be a pudding. Yeah, exactly. But to pull it all back together, the challenge for me in addressing the low profile that customer service has in this country is to overcome the internal view and start investing in the external view. Seeing things through the customer's eyes can, as I say, can bring about short-term operational improvement. It can bring about an awareness of the factors that we can influence, the language we use, the sort of terminology we use, the measurement we use. But thirdly, I think it can also be a catalyst for a new style of leadership. And that's something that I'm really keen to engage people in informal debate on. But for me, it can lead to the sort of scenarios that I got where a friend of mine rang me, and she's got 2 young kids, so she's a nervous wreck. She's at home bringing up the 2 kids. She gets a critical illness policy from the Prudential. It doesn't arrive. No, it arrives, that's it, it arrives, and she leaves it on the coffee table, and 10 minutes later her kids have ruined it, they've crayoned all over it, they've ripped the corner off, and she's in a bit of a panic. She thinks it might have been invalidated. So she rings the Prudential, and the Prudential are very professional. They give the name, they give the direct line, they say, don't worry, we'll issue another copy, you're completely covered, you don't need to worry about that, we'll send it by recorded delivery, if it's not with you in 48 hours, please ring me, my name's Anne, this is my number. So that's very good, very reassuring. The next day when it arrived, she emptied out the A4 envelope, the critical illness policy dropped out first, followed by a colouring book and 2 packets of crayons. Now, you know, what is going on in that organisation that would create that? Now, it's not because the Prudential have those things on indent, is it? That the Prudential thought, that's what we do in circumstances like that. That's how we manage the complaint. No, it's because somebody working for the Prudential is absolutely right for a customer-facing position. Somebody's got that cheekiness, that understanding, can put herself in the shoes of the young lady with the two kids, and knows exactly how it operates. But I'll finish back across the water in the States. Back in 2002, I went to speak at a conference in Chicago. That was the first time I'd been. This is why I went back. Do you remember Borders, the bookstore? I used to like Borders, you know, cup of coffee, wander around, look at the books. I suppose the fact that I never spent anything has got something to do with its subsequent demise. I've been given a list. My family in County Durham, most of them are conspiracy theorists. My dad actually paid £200 to have the family tree unearthed, and he had to pay another £300 to have it hushed up. But they are conspiracy theorists, and because there were pictures of the Pope and John Kennedy on the wall when I grew up, you know, I couldn't figure out which one was the deity. You know, the womanizing aspect didn't seem to go with the Pope, so I thought, you know, this is interesting. But we're always fascinated with the Kennedy, so I was given a long list of Kennedy books and Lee Harvey Oswald, conspiracy theorist things, DVDs, obscure jazz CDs. Cut a long story short, about $300 worth of stuff from Borders to buy. It's irrelevant that the service I got there was fantastic. They helped me find everything. So I go down with my basket to the checkout. I present everything, and this young man looks at me and he says, "Good morning, sir. How are you?" "I'm very well, thank you." "Oh, you're not from here. What are you doing in town?" I said, "Well, I'm speaking at this customer service conference at the hotel next door." And he said something really strange. He said, "So you're a kind of customer service teacher?" I thought, strange. Thought my luck was in for a minute. Bring a young Chicago man back with me. That might be interesting. And I thought, I suppose you could call me that. And he said, "Well, great, sir. It's Teachers Week here at Borders, and I can give you 30% off all your purchases." Wonderful. Now, I did think of going to Boots back in Halifax, you know, where, sorry, we can't do that. If you've not got your Advantage card with you, you can't have the points. You know. But somehow there's a link between what I've been saying about taking the customer view and the sort of experiences that tenants, that customers, that residents, and that fellow employees can regard as life-changing, and it can connect them to your organisation forevermore. So thanks very much.